Welcome back to our morning coffee time for Tuesday, September the 29th. How's everyone this morning? See a lot of action in the chat room this morning, even before I got in here. Well, I don't have much in the way of monastery news today. Hopefully it'll be a normal day with no calamities or disasters, an abundance of fresh air, some good deeds done, some time for work and practice. But the truth of it is we won't know it till it's all over. So I went to sleep last night a little later than I had hoped for. Just doing a little helping out a fellow monk far away. And then that left me kind of a little too wired to go to sleep till far past my bedtime. So waking up this morning, I noticed a very common kind of pattern for me, having gone to bed a bit later and had to sleep in to the late hour of 4:30. I missed some of my favorite morning activities and woke feeling a little less rested than one would like. And this immediate pattern of moving into scarcity mentality took over. Mind starts racing to the day, what we have planned, thinking, not as much sleep as I would like. Wish I could meet it with a bit more restedness. I missed out on some of what I like to do in the morning for my morning practice. And right away, the mind is kind of moving into various sort of states of dukkha. Moving away from a sense of well-being. Yeah. The day's just barely begun, and I've already started practicing this habit of wishing and wanting and sacrificing any sense of well-being by engaging in various imagined states that would have been or should have been cultivated or developed, wished for and wanted. Fortunately, I caught myself pretty quickly. These days, I tend to frame that kind of movement of the mind as scarcity mentality, but one could just easily think about it in a way that aligns a bit more with the Buddhist teachings as various states of lamentation and indeed various states of tanha sort of arising in the mind. And with tanha, inevitably there's some sense of self that kind of haunts the conscious processes. What's wrong with me? Why didn't I get it together to get to bed earlier? What's wrong with me? Why didn't I get up earlier? Whole sense of one's desires and priorities kicks into place. It's 4:30 in the morning, and one is already imaging stories of how you're going to suffer today. Or you start engaging in bargaining with yourself, thinking, well, maybe I could carve out a little time here to get some extra rest and a meditation, and maybe I can make up for some of the study I wanted to do before morning meditation later in the day. And I suppose in some way, those things bring a little bit of comfort or soothing, this bargaining and negotiating, but it doesn't really get to the heart of the matter. And part of what I find so inspiring, profound, useful about the Buddha's teaching is the way he frames analyzing the mind and looking at how it is that we understand our experience gets really to the heart of the matter. It's like recognizing worry and anxiety as suffering and reflecting on the roots of suffering. There's always something that's wanted, something that's wished for, something we thirst for. And the word that's used is tanha. So the processes of craving kick into gear right away. And so often suffering begets suffering. It's like with every little bit of suffering, if not kind of met with clarity and wisdom, we tend just to compound it. So anxiety oftentimes just begets anxiety, as well as strengthening the habit, that emotional habit. Worry begets worry. And of course, all the other host of defilements, because there's a weakening of clarity, a weakening of that sense of well-being. If we can't see dukkha as dukkha. And, I sometimes reflect on things like this and try to tie it to very real things that are happening in my life, is because I think it's easy for dukkha to feel quite abstract for people, even people have been practicing for many years. We can read the books, we can look at the definitions, we can look at the more obvious and coarse forms of dukkha. But so much of the dukkha that we're experiencing is this ordinary dukkha, just the arising of frustration, the arising of anxiety, the arising of hatred and ill will, dissatisfaction, sadness, sorrow, boredom, confusion. And cultivating the path kind of creates the conditions for a dissolving and a lessening of those states of mind. But ultimately, we have to be able to learn how to recognize dukkha and how it arises in all the various aspects of our life, like to become sensitive to sort of seeing these things in light of Dhamma, seeing dukkha as dukkha. And having the knowledge, the skill, the insight, the wisdom, and the strength to understand it and respond in a way that resolves it. So, my example this morning, I can see the mind starting this in the first several minutes of my morning as I start thinking about the day, thinking about what could have been or should have been or what I'd like. And just realizing that I'm already sort of nurturing some sort of story and expectation for the day to be not what I want. And, recognizing that sense of lack that comes with that, just challenging it, saying, hold on, wait a minute. This is the way it is. And the only real suffering going on here is the arising of worry, the arising of anxiety that's happening right here in the here and now. It's just these fleeting thoughts and a flicker of emotion that accompanies them. The past is a memory, like what happened the night before, whether you, however it played out, that's a memory arising in the present moment. If you want to think it should be some way, should have been some other way, then, and relate to it with desire, then you can create suffering in the present moment. You just accept it as a memory of what's past. You can let go. The truth of the day and the potential it holds, for one, it's unknown and uncertain. And it's not much of a refuge. Um, the real refuge is having the presence of mind and wisdom to stick with one's experience and see it clearly for what it is. So, and then to meet it with skillful effort. So, seeing anxiety or worry is dukkha. Seeing the various movements towards longing for something to have been different, or for something to, or worrying about something turning out better, is dukkha. And if our commitment is not to suffer, our commitment is to meet the present moment and preserve a sense of well-being and guard against states of suffering, then bringing those states of mind to resolve. And there's tremendous power in just seeing them for what they are, seeing them as presently arisen states that are creating suffering and are sowing the seeds for future suffering, and just resolving them. And a powerful way to shift into that, once one recognizes that that's what's going to going on, is just to release oneself from the wishing and the wanting and the thirsting and the craving for things to be different than they are. And in the absence of that, enjoy the freedom from that tanha, which is always good enough, and it's always just what we need. During meditation, we watch thoughts and feelings come and go without judging them or without arguing with them. But when should we take time to go deeper into why the thoughts and feelings arose? I'd say the basic template that I kind of picked up listening to Ajahn Chah's teaching is to develop a measure of clarity and serenity, or make the mind as clear and as peaceful as one can. And then use that clarity and that peaceful state of mind to then examine the mind in light of Dhamma. There can be a temptation to want to think about thoughts and feelings without having kind of purified the mind, to whatever level we can do that. So, and with practice, we get some sort of sense of our capacity for arousing a kind of enhanced clarity of mind, enhanced mindfulness. And, if anything, we're inclined to keep developing skill in that direction and deepen that, and having nurtured a kind of curiosity to sort of understand the mind and to understand thoughts and feelings. The mind's already inclined to be looking at things in light of Dhamma and looking to sort of understand how it is that things arise and cease. And to understand the mind in light of Dhamma, in light of the bigger kind of question of suffering, how dukkha arises and how dukkha ceases. And there's a lot of learning even in just trying to continually develop the mind of serenity that comes kind of automatic. The insight isn't always the best insights always aren't with this kind of, don't always come through this kind of very conscious intention to sort of think about something in a very discursive way. It's like the aha moment. There's this lingering curiosity and question about the mind and how the mind works that we've been nurturing, and then when the conditions are right in the mind, we see into something in a uniquely penetrative way, or a deep way, or from a slightly different angle that helps illuminate what's going on in a way not seen before. And there's various meditation styles and techniques where they try to systemize this, but I think the more natural approach is to trust yourself and to trust like the broader cultivation of the Eightfold Path to support this kind of work, and just learning to learning to balance skillfulness in developing clarity and serenity of mind, and being curious and taking time to reflect on the mind itself in light of the question of how it is that this mind comes to suffer. And it's like it's this kind of art. It's not, doesn't have to be so technical and precise. It's like you spend time tranquilizing the mind, clarifying the mind, and then you use that clear mind to reflect. And at some point, you need to refresh the mind with a deeper, enhanced sense of clarity and mindfulness to really support that reflective mind being effective. Okay, maybe one more, and then we'll have to wrap things up today. Tried to do metta in sleepless periods last night, but felt pretty fuzzy. Would you suggest just getting up and doing walking meditation? I didn't think of that at the time. Yeah, I think that can be good. If one is having a hard time sleeping, just to get up and meditate. I think it's good to get up out of bed and sit someplace rather than just lay in bed. Sometimes I'll sit up and meditate where I sleep. But if one's really not sleeping, it can be quite good just to kind of get up and do a little bit of meditation, and then go back and try to go back to sleep if one needs more sleep. Okay, well, I'm going to leave it at that for today, friends. Apologize for the calamity, the camera gear falling down. But it's not much in my control. So be well, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Bye for now.